corruption. My colleagues has put it, we know, Mr. Speaker, when I raise an issue of opulence of some of the cabinet ministers, I was blasted, I was accused of being jealous, I was accused of not knowing how to do deals. Mr. Speaker, I was accused of coming to take tea and mandazi in parliament instead of going to Tanzania and other countries to broker deals, Mr. Speaker, which is very unfortunate. And I was just calling out, don't eat too much and vomit before the feet of Kenyans. As a former ambassador would say, Mr. Speaker. Even in my culture, where I come from, you don't eat and open your shirt. It is a culture, Mr. Speaker. And I called out, and you remember, I was being blasted left, right, and center, Mr. Speaker, and I warned them that if this trend of displaying opulence by members of parliament and some cabinet ministers without humility, and I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, for the last 2 weekends, at least the quality of hair has improved. Because when choppers were crisscrossing, it was also affecting our agenda of climate change, Mr. Speaker, where people would fly in, land, reorganize the program of a funeral or a church service, speak, insult other elected leaders, Mr. Speaker, call them dimwits, call them fools, the way I was being called in Nandi last year, give out the money that God knows where they got it from, millions of shillings, and they fly away from the chopper, disrupting, Mr. Speaker, a social function for the next 1 hour or 30 minutes, Mr. Speaker, until they settle, Mr. Speaker. So the issue of corruption, and I think, Mr. Speaker, as a proposal to the President and EACC, Mr. Speaker, we must start doing lifestyle audits to all of us, state officers and all governors. Any person who is serving in a public office, we must do lifestyle audit. We must know, so that the reason Kenyans were on the streets, the reason Gen Z were calling us out, is because they are wondering, how can you contribute 20 million shillings in an Arambe, and yet they don't have even 100 shillings. They were wondering, the minister would be in Arambe counting millions of shillings, and the roads are not there, Mr. Speaker. And the water is not there, Mr. Speaker. So they are wondering, we are telling them the economy is bad, but we preside an Arambe worth millions of shillings, Mr. Speaker. It is not bad to do an Arambe. It is not bad to help people, but we must do their, and I'm telling you, I know some people, even who had bought shirts for funerals, dark suits, because their only thing was just, when they hear social function, Senator Sifuna, they appear. But they have never visited the bad roads that are in our counties, or look even at the water, Mr. Speaker. But they will find time to go and insult other leaders, Mr. Speaker. I think corruption also is not doing your job. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't necessarily that you have stolen, failing to do your job with integrity, reporting to your duty station. And therefore, number 3, I propose that EACC must be disbanded forthwith with capital letters. They have failed from national to counties, Mr. Speaker. In fact, when you steal, they come and see you my attend, they slap you on the wrist, and they go away. If today EACC was serious, 3/4 of governors would be in jail by now. I can tell you for free. Because even some of the people serving at the state officers, Mr. Speaker, they should be in jail. But EACC have failed us. While I agree they don't have enough resources, it is time we disband the EACC and restructure EACC and redevelop EACC to win back the public confidence, Mr. Speaker, of this republic going into the future. If you ask EACC and friends and colleagues, I have been privileged to serve as JLAC chair. And I remember we did invite EACC in the last session. The only conviction EACC had done is a bribery of 20,000 shillings. What are we telling Kenyans? What are we telling Gen Z when they can see this club that you have built somewhere in a town, they can see these are proceeds of crime. And that the EACC will turn a blind eye, Mr. Speaker. We must resist, and I want to request, even as EACC struggle with the challenges of resources, we must disband, restructure to win the public confidence of this republic, Mr. Speaker. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, before I finish with austerities, This issue of SRC increasing the salaries of members of parliament and state officers is in bad faith. It wants to increase the public discontent, Mr. Speaker, and SRC must be called out, Mr. Speaker. You remember when UHC colleagues, interns, we invited SRC here. They told us there is no money to increase for UHC doctors or JSS, but they are quick to increase money for us members of parliament to create discontent and fuel the country into discontentment of members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. SRC we never requested for the increment of salaries. We have never. SRC is abusing its own power by trying to set us against the public. And I'm happy a number of colleagues have responded to this blackmail, misleading corruption by SRC, Mr. Speaker. And I also propose SRC must be disbanded, Mr. Speaker, and serve. Let the SRC commissioners not serve monthly. They should serve as, because the problem we have with SRC, they are not serving part-time. They are busy trying to set and regulate salaries so that they justify their work in office, Mr. Speaker. While SLRC chair is giving herself a 10 million car grant for a Prado from Toyota Kenya. She is increasing her salary. She gets 2 car grants within 4 years, Mr. Speaker. The SRC, and I want to say and tell Kenyans, I am not interested. In fact, what I'm proposing going into the future, members of parliament, we should serve in part-time, just like other countries, Mr. Speaker. Then we agree how it works out. If that is the solution that will bring back the confidence of this Republic of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on judiciary, I served and I have the privilege of information. Mr. Speaker, Kenyans file more than 500,000 cases per year. I saw the chief effectively saying they can open up to midnight to handle these issues that we are experiencing. But she has never done anything about clearing backlog, Mr. Speaker. The bitterness Kenyans have is that they have a court case, they have not gotten a court order. For those people who do not have means, they are suffering, Mr. Speaker. But the Chief Justice, to appear right and to appear popular, not to appear right, to appear popular but not right, is just giving a public relation exercise to the gallery by saying now, since everybody is no longer safe from Gen Z, and you know he was visited the other day in his office, she thinks by saying, let us handle all the protesters being brought to court, Mr. Speaker, who are not Orguns, is fair. The real problem with judiciary is it should give us the matrix, the timeline of clearing cases, Mr. Speaker. And how can you justify from 1982, there is a court case up to today, a succession case, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, it's corruption. Kenyans are Mr. Speaker, are mad with all the institutions. And I want to tell everybody who is serving as a state officer, no one is no longer safe. Senator Majority Leader Aaron Cheruiyot will tell you, Wamboka Wanami and Samuel Atandi, when they wanted to cross for safety, they could not. Because the people say, ndio wale. And I'm telling you, some things happen that I'm not comfortable to share because this is parliamentary guarded program. It is a PG-rated, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, on austerity measures, I will tell, I can see Senator Faki is interested, I will tell him in camera. Mr. Speaker, I plead with the President and all of us, just in 2 minutes, Mr. Speaker, please let us not cut amount that we are going to JSS for 6,000 teachers. Most of these 46,000 are young people. If we can confirm them to permanent and pensionable, Mr. Speaker, we shall also be fair to young people on these 46,000 junior secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, number 2, let us not reduce the allocation to counties. Because it was not pro rata, as Majority Leader said, it was based on equity. Just a minute, Mr. Speaker. And also, finally, Mr. Speaker, let us not cut money that was going to confirm the UHC intern doctors, among others, within the medical sector, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I support this motion. Let us bring back this nation to where it should be. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Sifuna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. First, let me start by saying that I want to laud the leadership of the majority and the minority sides. that have brought this motion this morning. And to just say to